Hello, we're talking to Dr. James Busby, and he wrote this book, How to Afford Veterinarian Care Without Mortgaging the Kids. How did you become a veterinarian, Jim?
I was born into a family of veterinarians, so it's kind of in my blood. My great-grandfather was a veterinarian approximately 100 years ago. My father died while I was going to school, so when I graduated I actually took over his practice. But it's something I've done for over 40 years, and I've been very happy with my choice.
So tell us a little bit about your book.
The book is something that I wrote because I'm becoming disgusted with what the profession is becoming. I don't agree with a lot of things that are going on in the veterinary medicine because I feel they are charging for a lot of things that are unnecessary. If pet owners are educated, if they know something, they then are able to say no when their veterinarian tells them you need this or that. And so many things today are simply not needed.
So could you give us some examples of that, Jim?
Let's start with something that everybody is familiar with. Everybody has their animal vaccinated. In fact, they have them vaccinated and over-vaccinated and over-vaccinated. And this is one of my chief complaints. There has never been any studies done showing that animals need to be revaccinated any oftener than people. People get one vaccination early in life, usually so young they don't even remember it, and they never get another one. Has anybody ever questioned why animals need to have these shots repeated year after year after year? The American Animal Hospital Association in the late 90s started to question this. At that time there was a couple of small studies done that showed dog and cat core vaccines, distemper, parvo, rabies, whatnot, were effective for at least 7.5 to 8 years. Based on the fact that the American Veterinary Medical Association at this same time published an article stating there never has been any studies done showing these vaccinations be repeated. Based on these three things and a little common sense, the American Animal Hospital Association stated flatly that they felt these vaccinations were good for life. Well, this created such an uproar in the rank and file of the veterinarians that the American Animal Hospital Association had to backtrack, and they finally made it their official policy to recommend revaccinating every 3 years. Now, this number was not arrived at through any scientific study. It was simply grasped out of the air to appease its members. So this became their official policy. But even then, they still let it be known they thought that these vaccinations were good for much, much longer. They simply decided that they would leave it up to the discretion of the individual veterinarian. Now, this is about like letting the fox guard the hen house. Many, in fact, most veterinarians are still over-vaccinating. In fact, I just had a client come in my clinic this afternoon. She came from the Twin Cities, and she had her vaccination record. And many vets in the Twin Cities, probably most, still do vaccinations on an annual basis. Now, this is after all this other recommendations that it wasn't necessary. In fact, they were shooting rabies every 2 years. Now, there is no such thing as a 2-year rabies. There's only a 3-year rabies. This is a common practice. There are vaccines on the market that are actually worthless. There is a product out for immunizing against coronavirus. Now, coronavirus is a disease that has never been diagnosed in this country. The company that manufactured the vaccine couldn't prove it worked because when it came to testing the animals, if they had 30 dogs that they vaccinated and 30 dogs that they didn't, when they exposed them all to coronavirus, nobody got sick. The company that manufactured it couldn't prove it worked, and yet the FDA passed this. When I mentioned this to the salesman who sold it, he actually admitted that he had a researcher tell him this was the best vaccine that he thought the salesman company ever invented. The American Animal Hospital Association in an article stated it's a vaccine looking for a reason to be given. Now, this is something that a lot of vets are still shooting annually. Veterinarians are simply taking it upon themselves to over-vaccinate, and it's all done for one reason, to increase the bottom line.
So our book is How to Afford Veterinarian Care Without Mortgaging the Kids. And can you tell us, Dr. Busby, how to get this book?
The best thing I can tell you is to look at my webpage, oldcountryvet.com. It has quite a detailed breakdown of what I've just said. It gives my email address if you want to contact me, and you can order it off my webpage. You can also get it from Amazon.com, or any bookstore can order it. But look at my webpage, oldcountryvet.com.
Thank you, Dr. Busby, for the fascinating interview, and I'm sure we'll hear more about the book.